So I'm going to get further into arrays here and talk about multi-dimensional arrays. As you can see here from this website, Geeks for Geeks, I found this kind of easy to understand way to read a multi-dimensional array. So as we discussed earlier, an array will be array, and then this number here will be the length of the array. So in this case, we can actually set it up to be rows and columns using two different lengths of arrays. Since we have this, we can set up a 2D looking array here where for each column we actually have, for each column we have 4 rows, and for each row we have 4 columns. And using this can actually give you a lot of very fun and cool things you can do with it. As you can see, for calling it, if you want to get the value of this first one, you do 0, 0. If you want to do for row 1, column 2, 0, 1, and row 2, column 1, you can get 1, 0, and you can expound upon that and find yourself how to continue that. But I want to show you a fun thing I did in using specifically arrays. So there's a game called Conway's Game of Life that has a lot of rules about switching around what these stars will be when, depending on what is around it. And every time that we run the code, it'll switch depending on those rules. And using just 2D arrays and some loops, as you can see we've now stopped due to how the rules go, we can actually check and update all of these positions. As you can see here, we have the world and the logic. The world will be pos y, pos x, which in this case would be very similar to this row, pos y, column, pos y, and row, pos x. And we update it depending on what these stars and what these spaces are equal to. So here I have the initialized random array variables in order to start the game working. And I'll show you a few different ways that it'll start, as you can see, just changing a bit more. One thing about this game is a lot of times where it'll just kind of equal itself. So let's go ahead and change the x position to 6, the y position to 6 and the x position to 5. And then restart it for specifically one of these. As we can see here, we now have this shape, and if we run it, it'll now be this, and then get stuck here again, because again, this game, it's very hard to make an infinite working thing. So let's change it up again a little bit. Here we have this into a bit more randomness, and now all the guys are dead, unfortunately. So that's one of the cool ways you can use multidimensional arrays. So you may have been wondering to yourself, multi-dimensional arrays, what would that entail? Because this is clearly only a 2-dimensional array. Hopefully there's more than that, than just 2 and 1. So there's also the 3-dimensional array, which I haven't personally done anything with, but its use cases might be a bit more easier for you to see. It's very similarly set up to this array over here, where instead of using 2, we use a third one, and now we have these 3 sets of arrays here, where if we wanted to, this is a 3D version of it, as it is a 3D array, where this would be row 1, column 1 in array 1, this would be row 1, column 1 in array 2, and row 1, column 1 in array 3. So from here we can set more values and get a bit more to it, but I haven't used it much, so I don't fully know.